Hey, what's going on, Noles Nation? CJ Wilson here with DoakTalk, here to give you guys a recap of the Cal game. FSU ended up winning the game 14-9 in a very low-scoring thriller against the Cal Bears in their first ACC game since joining the conference. Before we get started, make sure you guys like this video and subscribe to the channel and become a part of the DoakTalk family. We cover all things FSU related, from recruiting to games to interviews with opposing teams on the schedule, reporters, just to give you guys an inside track for the upcoming week from an inside perspective for the respective team, and also post game videos in regards just wrapping up and give you a breakdown of what I saw in the game, what I think FSU could do moving forward, whatever the situation may be. Also, typically we'll go live for our post game review and give you guys, the fans, a time to chime in and talk and chat it up and tell me what you think and what you feel like FSU done for that previous week. So again, like and subscribe if you haven't. All right, guys. FSU ended up winning 14-9 against Cal, like I stated. It was a defensive game. We're going to talk about the defense first and the offense second. I guess we'll get into the good part of the game and then save the bad for the latter part of the video. Just speaking about the defense, it was a bend but don't break attack for the FSU defense for this upcoming game. Give up 9 points with literally no help from your offense. Hell of an effort from those guys. It was a bend but don't break, like I said, mindset. Ended up giving 410 total yards against Cal, which I wasn't really a fan of. But like I said, it was a bend but don't break mindset. The points is where it really mattered. But I was really impressed with the rushing attack, or the rushing defense rather, for against Cal. 107 rushing yards on 37 attempts. Really good job. The first couple weeks, Boston College and Georgia Tech, they pretty much did what they wanted to in the run game against us. They didn't get into many passing situations, but the last 2 weeks against Memphis and, of course, against Cal, the defense has really stepped up, especially the defensive line. You got to give those guys credit. We talked a lot about, or preseason, how they had a lot of hype and been NFL players, this, that, and the third. Underperformed the first few weeks of the season. There's no surprise. Those guys have been getting a lot of scrutiny because of it, but they responded the last couple weeks. Big time plays. They definitely stepped up and played some really great football against Cal. They dominated the line of scrimmage, pretty much dominated the game. The defensive line was probably the story of the game, in my opinion. Speaking about some of the guys on the defensive line, Marvin Jones Jr., I want to give him his props, man. He had 2 sacks, 6 pressures, had a PFF pass rush grade of 84.8. I think Marvin Jones is going to be a hell of a player for FSU. I know fans wanted to kind of get on his back early, and how he performed early in the season, but he's been playing better and better. This past week against Cal, was his best effort by far, in my opinion. Played a complete game, gave a lot of effort. And I was at the game, and where my seats was positioned at, I was literally right behind the defensive bench. So just seeing them coming off the field and things like that, the kid definitely gave his all, man. He was pretty much spent on the sideline in regards to, being winded and things like that by giving his all on the field. And you saw it on that last series where he had the forced fumble sack and things like that. He got home a lot. So I think Marvin Jones is going to continue to get better and better. If you guys got to realize I think it's a redshirt sophomore, if I'm not mistaken. First year at Georgia, didn't play much. Second year, didn't play much. He's just now starting to get game reps, right? The first three games or things like that were his first time, really playing a lot of snaps and playing a lot of football. So I think the more the season progresses, the more reps and the more snaps he gets, Marvin Jones Jr. is going to become better and better and better. It's going to be a really bright future for him. I don't want to get too far ahead, but I'm really excited to see how he looks next year. Just hitting on all cylinders and things like that, coming back as a veteran player that has played a lot of snaps. Patrick Pate. Man, shout out to Pat Pate, man. He had a hell of a day. Career high in tackles for loss and sacks. 3.5 tackles for loss and 3 sacks. Was the ACC Defensive Lineman of the Week. Again, these guys came to play, man. Patrick Pate heard the criticism. He's been playing lights out the last couple of weeks. Big-time player. In my opinion, the best player on the defensive line overall was Joshua Farmer. He had 4 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss and a sack. 7 pressures. He pretty much dominated the line of scrimmage from a pass rush, run stopper, all around. He dominated the line of scrimmage. I really like what Alan Fuller did too. He moved him around as well, put those guys in different situations. It was even a time where He had Patrick Payton lined up as a defensive tackle and Marvin Jones as a defensive end. And he had Joshua Farmore lined up as a defensive end as well, too, in certain situations. So I feel like Fuller just let those guys hunt a little bit and put them in favorable matchups against the opposing offensive line, which we should do moving forward. But yeah, shout out to Josh Farmer, man. He's definitely been playing well, building on the Memphis game. If you guys remember, I told you guys in the last recap in regards to the Memphis game, the defensive line had a solid game, really solid game. If they could build on that performance moving forward, I think it could be pretty good and get the type of output that we thought we would get in the beginning of the season. And just speaking with the Cal reporter pregame, he was saying, it's a lot of new faces within that Cal offensive line. They struggle in the past, in pass pro, I felt like, okay, this is another game to where, they could kind of build their confidence and have a great outing and build upon that. So 7 total sacks from the defensive line. Very impressive day for those guys. Liked it a lot. Blake Nicholson, he was another guy that stood out on the defense, man. Blake keeps getting better and better as well, too. True sophomore, had 8 tackles on the night. More reps, right? We have a lot of second-year guys that have been playing a lot of snaps on defense, getting more reps and getting more comfortable. I'm going to jump into those guys in a second. But Blake is one of those guys. He's been playing like one of our best linebackers. And you're kind of seeing what we thought we would get from Blake out of high school ranks. If you guys remember, Blake was a highly regarded, highly rated linebacker out of California, but his trademark was more so his athletic ability, his speed, a 4-4 type of guy, played running back and linebacker for his high school. So you see that jump out. He's a fast guy. He's a physical guy. Gets to the ball carrier in a hurry. No wasted movement at all. So I think the more reps and the more experience Blake gets, the better he will be as well. Because you got to remember, he played mostly running back in high school and just transitioned more so to a linebacker in college. So he's still learning the position. So again, true sophomore, reps. I think you're going to see the defense play better as the season progresses because guys are getting more snaps and getting more comfortable within their roles. Another second-year player, Quindarius Jones. Man, this kid is going to be a baller. He has a chance to be one of those defensive backs in FSU history, right? He passed the eye test at 6'2", 190, but he plays lights out. I mean, he had a really great game. Had 3 pass breakups on the night, all coming on one drive. The energy he plays with, he's 6'2", but he's fluid, he's physical. This guy has all the goods to be one of the better cornerbacks, FSU history in regards to, being continue to DBU mantra again, drafted high, that type of deal. And it's wild when you look back, and it's a great eval and find by the staff. Quindarius was pretty much, he had no P5 offers coming out of high school. FSU was the only school to really take a chance on him, and it's starting to pay dividends. Just a red shirt freshman, but had a really big impact on the game. He's going to be a player for FSU moving forward. Shaheem Brown had a pretty big game as well, had 11 tackles. He was really quick, trigger, fast, and aggressive in regards to, being a forcer in the run game and the screen game. A few more guys I want to highlight. Then let's talk about the overall thoughts on the defense. Edwin Joseph, another second-year guy, right? Redshirt freshman. He had a hell of a game. Had a big-time interception. Played it perfectly. Man coverage, undercut the route, caught the pick, and also he got a sack, the game-winning sack, so to speak, for FSU. A lot of energy. You see the physical traits that kind of stand out. He's a bigger DB. He's physical, plays fast, plays with the edge. Go back to the earlier games of the season on special teams as a gunner. He had the big hit against Georgia Tech, and I want to say Memphis, if I'm not mistaken. So you see the type of energy and the type of player he could be. He had his first in-game opportunity this past Saturday against Cal, and he answered the bell. This is a guy that you will see, progressing through the season. He'll get more reps as well. You'll see a lot more plays being made. KJ Kirkland, another second-year guy. We got a lot of young talent on this defense, man. A lot of young talent within the defense. A second-year player, along with Conrad Hussey, who's a second-year player as well. But KJ Kirkland specifically, he has 7 tackles on the game. It's going to be some growing pains as we see a little bit early with KJ Kirkland. He started last week against Memphis as Shaheem Brown was out due to injury and played a lot of snaps this past Saturday as well, being in the rotation at safety. He's going to be a player for FSU. Learning curve, of course, just now getting those in-game reps, but you can see the talent, you can see the potential for sure within the defense. But overall, though, my overall take within the defense, they're way more physical, way more physical. We were passive early in the season against Georgia Tech and things like that, and it was kind of evident. We pointed that out in previous shows. So they were way more physical and they were fast to the ball. I didn't see any loafing really. Those guys play with the edge, they play with the attitude. It looked similar to the FSU defense of last year as far as those guys rallying to the ball. It wasn't really. It wasn't that many missed tackles if I can remember. My only issue with the defense is the 300 yards passing we gave it to Mendoza. He was 22 of 36 through the air, threw one interception. We're 5 for 15 on third downs. That was perfect, great, really big time. 5 for 15 on third downs. My only issue is converting long downs. Cal converted too many long downs for my liking, like a 3rd and 14, 2nd and 16. It was too many long downs that Cal had converted on. But overall, though, a dominant performance by the defense. To give up 9 points, like I said, with the offensive help that you've gotten from our offense is very impressive. These guys are starting to show the potential we saw as far as early in the season, or preseason rather, what this defense could be. Hopefully we continue to build upon that. I didn't really see too many lack of communication lapses like we saw early in the season as well. So good outing by the defense. There was a lot of positive signs that we could build on moving forward. Now, let's go to the offense. Whew, boy. All right, before we get to this offense, make sure you guys like this video and subscribe to the channel again. I promise you. Please like and subscribe. Join the DoakTalk family. Oh, boy. Yeah, this is this is the worst offense I have seen during my time as an FSU fan. It's horrendous. We're averaging 15 points per game on the season. In the last 3 games, which have all been at home, by the way, we scored 13, 12, and 14 points, respectively. Just a lot of moving pieces involved. Play calling for sure is one of my main issues. Quarterback play hasn't been good. Drops by tight ends, receivers, whatever it may be. Missed holds by running backs, missed blocks by O-line. It's been a collective effort, but the quarterback definitely has been a glaring issue for sure. I want to give a shout out to Coach Atkins. It was his first game back. The O-line did play a lot better for sure. Ran for over 100 yards, which was is not great. It's better. It's pretty solid, but it's not, we run for like 200 in the past, but it's a huge improvement from 26 or so against Boston College and less than 40 against Memphis. So 100 yards on the ground. I saw the offensive line. They were moving guys, creating holes. You saw some good things. They were also DJU had a pretty clean pocket. Wasn't too many breakdowns in pass pro. He wasn't under pressure a lot. A lot of the throws a lot of the lanes he had was pretty clean. So shout out to Coach Atkins. I'm gonna give a shout out to Jalen Early too. He played pretty damn well. Was his second start in the season. He was the replacement on the right tackle spot due to some injuries we've been having. But Jalen Early had a pretty damn good game against the Cal Bears. Like what I saw out of Jalen Early. It may be something we could build on moving forward. Now, let's talk about DJU, the quarterback. He was 16 of 27. 177 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Pretty much he was just below average on the night. Had the bad pick, and he missed a wide open Benson running down the seam, which would have been another touchdown, a big play opportunity for FSU. I was kind of okay with that shot. I feel like we should take more shots in games, 100%. We should take 6 to 8 deep shots a game. But just going back to DJU and not going, sidetrack with the play calling. As far as throws, he didn't really miss too many throws. There's a few throws that kind of stand out. He had a couple throwaways, and I know some fans were kind of questioning the throwaways, but the receivers didn't do him too many favors. A lot of the times when he threw the ball away, it was the right decision to throw the ball away because Cal's secondary is damn good. It's probably one of the better secondaries. We just want to put this out. It's probably one of the better secondaries we will see all season, just thinking about the rest of the schedule. So Cal has a very stingy defense as within the 10 picks and a very good secondary. So from moving forward, Clemson, maybe. I guess you could say a little bit of Miami, probably. But Notre Dame as well, they have a pretty solid secondary. But I think Cal is going to be one of the best we see this season. So they did a pretty good job of coverage on our defensive backs. My main issue with DJU, is the decision making in the RPO situation. There's plenty of times so just for you guys know, the P in RPO stands for pass. You have a run pass option. So just to give you guys a breakdown, pretty much we have trips to one side, and it's a corner and a nickel back on a slot receiver, with the third receiver being free, with the safety covering him about 10 yards deep. You have DJU in the running back. So you're looking pre-snap and seeing what you have, this, that, and the third. So Jalen Brown was a receiver, if I'm not mistaken. He ran the bubble. The two top receivers, will block the corner and the nickelback, having the bubble wide open if you choose to pass it. So just looking at that lineup pre-snap, and Cal brought the blitz. Pre-snap, I'm not sure what Mike is teaching, but basic concept. If you see that look pre-snap and you're getting blitz pre-snap, instead of going through the fake of the RPO, just go ahead and throw it right then and there because you already have the numbers. So it was in that situation, DJU tried to go through the RPO fake, tried to pull it, and I guess do something with it. But at that point in time, the blitz was already in his face. You got to see that pre-snap. The blitz, they weren't hiding it. They showed they were coming. So you got to see that pre-snap and just go ahead and get the ball out quick because you already have the numbers. In situations where he tried to pull or should have pulled, he's just not fast enough to get around the edge. So that's a problem. But yeah, this RPO decision making overall has been the issue for DJU, and I think it's holding back the offense. So I said it before, I wouldn't be opposed to the change, but it is what it is at this point. He wasn't great. He wasn't extremely bad. It was just below average. Something that can happen, especially with the weapons we have around him. Moving on from DJU, Lawrence Philly had 19 touches for 89 total yards and a TD. I told you guys preseason this was my pick for the offensive MVP, and he shouldn't get no less than 15 touches a game. He got 19. I think it was, of course, due to some injuries to Roydell. Cam Davis got hurt, getting banged up a little bit as well. So that may have played a factor in it, but it shows that he was effective within that role. 15 plus touches a game should run and pass should be the minimum for Lawrence Philly, in my opinion. I would like to see us have him more of a matchup nightmare in the passing game. I felt like, which has been one of my questions for Mike as far as matchups and things like that, I felt like coming into the season, we'll see more of a Lawrence Philly in the pass game, kind of like what we saw from him in 2022, just to get him on linebackers in certain situations. I think DJU may have missed him a couple times on some wheel routes, but I feel like we should start getting back into that matchup nightmare for Lawrence Philly, too, as far as running routes against linebackers to where he could get the mismatch and get out of space and make some plays. But again, I was pleased with the 19 total touches, 89 total yards. I wish he could have had a little bit more in the second half because he was getting going early in the first half. We just had too many 3-and-outs, too many stalled drives, held less than 300 yards again. So, I mean, the offense has to do better. Mike has to look himself in the mirror and figure it out. Take more shots downfield, be more aggressive, passing the ball downfield. And also, we get caught in negative play situations, whether it's a penalty or a loss of downs. We have situations where it's 3rd and 17 and things like that. And some of that stuff is pretty much, I'm not going to say pretty much because we did convert some of them, but it's very hard to do. But speaking of 3rd and 17 and some big-time players, Ja'Kai Douglas had 4 catches, 86 yards and a touchdown. And he had 3 of his 4 catches on 3rd down, including a big 3rd and 17 catch. Big-time player, man. He's been making plays for us in the past game, but he has been bad in regards to blocking and on screens and things like that. That's been the issue, but just running routes and making plays downfield, Ja'Kai Douglas has probably been our most consistent receiver this season. But yeah, I think the receivers did kind of have a hard time getting open against Cal. But again, though, 14 points, the defense, and I told you guys, the defense, 13, 12, and 14 at home, and we're talking about Boston College, Memphis, and Cal. It's not like we're playing the 85 Bears, the 01 Ravens, or the 02 Bucks or anything like that. So, I mean, 2000 Ravens, we're not playing great defenses. We haven't seen Clemson yet. We haven't seen Miami yet. We haven't seen Notre Dame yet. All who have better defenses, better defensive lines. more guys that can get pressure on us, and it can make it even more challenging for a DJU. So we got to find something offensively to get a rhythm in. Maybe, like I said, build around Lawrence toward Philly, more shots down the field. I feel like the receivers have proven that they're capable of making those plays. I know we had a lot of talk about the receivers preseason, but from what I've seen, those guys are capable of making plays. They're not world beaters or anything like that, but they're capable of making plays if given the opportunity. And we gotta do a better job of getting those guys the ball and scheming stuff for them, man. So, Mike, your mantra has been the offense your whole career. Your offensive coordinator by trait. Usually have explosive offenses, but to have close to 37 to 38 points per game last year to 15 this year is a huge drop off. We have to figure out something going on offense, because if we can't get over, if we 15 points per game, I mean, shit. Like if we can't get that going, it's going to be a long season. Defense is playing well enough to win games for us. Like I stated, he had 9 points against Cal, gave up 20 points against Memphis, 28 against 28 against Boston College, and 24 against Georgia Tech. So the defense has played well for us to win at least 3 of those games, if I'm being completely honest. Especially, the Memphis game for sure. But we got to do better and help them out on offense so we can have, a perfect balance and get the most potential wise from this team. Couple things before we get out of here from the recruiting some from a recruiting perspective before we wrap things up, and also shout out to the fans that came out to Doak Campbell Stadium for the Cal game. Night game sold out. You guys showed up. It was loud. Cal had a bunch of false starts, delayed game penalties in the red zone, and things like that. Had a few people reach out to me that came to the game and actually saw what was what and said, Doak Campbell Stadium did not disappoint. It was a great atmosphere, real raucous crowd, things like that. Shout out to Jim McGill, who was our Cal insider for the last Behind Enemy Lines, writer and editor for the Bear Insider. He was at the game, and he stated it was a home field advantage. So I want to give a shout out to the fans. You guys definitely showed up. Some recruiting nuggets real quick, though. FSU did get a commitment on Saturday as well. I dropped a recruiting video in depth speaking about it, but Brian Lewis, he did commit to FSU, 4-star running back out of American Heritage. He is a teammate of, now in South Florida, teammates the current FSU commit and cornerback Zay Thomas. I know FSU is looking to add one more running back for this recruiting class, as we're going to lose Lawrence toward Philly, Roydell Williams, Keziah Holmes, etc. So the next running back on the board to commit next week, I'm not saying he's committed to FSU. He's announcing his decision next Saturday, if I'm not mistaken, on October the 28th, is Usman Kromha, the 4-star running back out of Georgia who was on campus for the Cal game. Kid seems like he enjoyed his visit this past weekend to FSU. It seems like it's a Georgia and Auburn are the other 2 teams involved in this recruitment. So we'll see how things play out next weekend. If FSU could get lucky, I'm not going to say lucky, if FSU can continue the good fortune on the recruiting trail and land the second running back commit from Kromha. But again, make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel. FSU won 1 game. We'll see if we can continue that momentum this upcoming weekend on the road. First true road game of the season against the SMU Mustangs, who was also, it was Cal's first game in the ACC. In ACC play, this is going to be SMU's first game in ACC play. So let's go ahead and welcome those guys properly. Go Noles.